Alrighty, welcome to the Grand Prix Phoenix finals here. I'm Luis Scott Vargas here with Hall of Famer William Jensen.
Happy to be here.
As always, we've got Nathan Holliday, who we've seen pretty much crush this weekend.
Yeah.
There's rumor that he lost a few times, but it wasn't on camera, so I cannot verify it.
Yeah, I can't either.
We've also got Robert Berni, who's playing Mono Black here, who's cruised his way to the finals. And we've got two monocolor devotion decks squaring off for the trophy here. And as you can see, Robert Berni is the #1 seed, so he got to choose whether he wanted to play first. And as we discussed exhaustively,
Yep.
he decided to go first.
Yeah, very important in this matchup. But
because it's a matchup of standard.
Right, and he doesn't have the pack rat, though, to really ultimately capitalize on it.
And Nathan's deck is the deck that's, I think, one of the most vulnerable to pack rat, especially on the draw. So Nathan didn't have a turn 1 Clivefin Raptor. He even though he drew it on turn 2, he chose to play it over Tidebinder Mage.
Well, he wants to get some value out of the Tidebinder Mage evolving the Cloudfin Raptor, so...
And it actually worked out perfectly, because he drew a Judge's Familiar, which will evolve Raptor. Then he plays Tidebinder Mage, which will again evolve Raptor. And that's assuming Robert Berni doesn't have any responses here, which it looks like he doesn't. You have to be thinking, what's in Robert Berni's hand? He didn't play Nightveil Spectre.
Well, he did mulligan to 6.
He mulliganed to 6. He didn't have Lifebane Zombie. He didn't have Devour Flesh. Oh, he had Bioblade. That's the only removal spell that kills Cloudfin Raptor that he wouldn't have played in response to Judge's Familiar.
Right.
But Nathan's still reasonably happy. He's still got 2 creatures on the board. Robert Berni still hasn't played a threat. It looks like his hand has Grey Merchants in it.
No Desecration Demon there. Nathan's very happy to see that.
Everything's coming up Nathan here. I mean, being able to play a Bident here is huge, since even though Robert is likely going to kill one of his creatures, and he does, drawing an extra card off Bident and having 2 Devotion for the rest of the game is insane.
Yeah, and just having the Bident in play, like we discussed before, Robert can't remove it.
Yep, that's one of Mono Black's weaknesses. It can't do much about enchantments or artifacts, or artifact enchantments, as it turns out. Nightveil Spectre is a good comeback from Robert, though. It does block Judge's Familiar, but I think Nathan has his 1 copy of Domestication.
He does, which is a real backbreaker.
Especially since, as we discussed, Robert can't remove enchantments.
Right.
His only out to Domestication is to kill his own Nightveil Spectre.
Right, otherwise, Nathan is going to have a Nightveil Spectre that can hit Robert and take cards off the top of his deck, but also Domestication plus Nightveil Spectre is 5 Devotion.
Yeah, I mean, that alone will make Master Wave just instantly lethal. Thassa's always going to be turned on.
Yep.
So Nathan deciding whether he has a wealth of options. He has Thassa here. I would be tempted just to slam Domestication.
I think that's what I would do here too.
Because it gets you a free card off Judge's Familiar immediately.
Right.
It also, that way it can't get Thought Seized, and I think you'd much rather have Thassa get Thought Seized than Domestication in this spot.
Yeah, just having Nightveil Spectre is a really good threat here. Also, if, we know Robert hasn't played a lot of spells. If his hand is rich in Grey Merchants, taking Nightveil Spectre helps randomly losing to a couple Grey Merchants in a row.
And if Robert has a Devour Flesh, I think now's the time to cast it on himself. That way he gains the life. Nathan could counter it with Judge's Familiar, but at least that stops him from drawing a card.
Right.
Unfortunately for Robert, it does not look like he has Devour Flesh. He's going to get hit by Judge's Familiar. Nathan's going to get to draw a card. He's also going to get to have a Spectre in play.
Spectre gets to attack, draw a card, and take a card.
Yeah, it seems kind of greedy, actually.
Yeah.
What does the Spectre think? And Nathan has Rapid Hybridization in hand, which, if Robert were to play something like Desecration Demon, he could easily deal with it. Nathan just, hitting land drops, about to draw a bunch of extra cards. I mean, Robert's going to cast some removal spells here, but he's still pretty far behind.
So he does have Hero's Downfall for Nightveil Spectre, but even that costs Robert 2 cards.
Yep, the Domestication traded for 6 mana and 2 cards. And Nathan's going to take the opportunity to cast a 3/3, essentially. What do you think about that? I mean, it does give Nathan a 3/3 for 1 mana, but he's now potentially vulnerable to Desecration Demon.
Right, that's what I understand the temptation there to get value out of your Rapid Hybridization. You're likely to think Robert doesn't have a Desecration Demon right now because he hasn't played one in the past couple turns when it was available to him. But I think Desecration Demon is maybe one of the only ways Robert could hope to get back in the game, even though I don't think actually it matters at all at this point. I think if Robert could stack his deck every turn or Demonic Tutor every turn, he still would come up short here because Nathan is just so far ahead.
Yeah,
but I think I would have just played a little more conservatively there.
Yeah, Nathan could have played slightly more conservatively, playing around Robert having a good threat. Fact is, Nathan has a Bident and 4 creatures that are going to get to attack this turn. Granted, the Grey Merchant can block either the Frostmourne Lizard or the Frog Lizard, but Thassa can make them unblockable.
Right.
If Nathan has nothing to do, he's just going to draw 4 cards.
Even if he has something to do, he can just draw 4 cards.
I mean, I would take the opportunity to draw 4 cards if I can.
Opportunity is a good Magic card.
That it is. Nathan deciding this is always tough, because Nathan does have legitimate decisions. He should take a little time to do them. From Robert's side of the table, Nathan's thinking, what exactly am I going to do to completely destroy me?
Right.
So you can't be you can't be happy when your opponent's tanking about which way they're going to win the game, because Nathan is going to win the game.
I mean, this is fine too. He's going to draw 3 cards and allow allow Robert to block the Frog Lizard.
Yeah, which I think is a better block overall than Frostburn Weird, because Nathan is going to be crunched on mana here.
Well, it looks like Robert chose to block the Frostburn Weird.
Yeah, and it's going to take a hit for 9. And 3 extra cards, including Master of Waves and Nightveil Spectre. Nathan's actually going to miss a land drop here, I think, which is kind of funny, because he actually would rather draw a land than almost any spell, given that he already hit the Master of Waves. Tidebinder Mage comes out, Master of Waves comes out. And Robert right now has a Bioblight, so he's going to be able to deal with the Master, but he's still basically dead to the rest of Nathan's board.
Yeah. Next turn, even if he kills Master and another creature, Nathan's going to get to attack and draw 4 more cards, and yeah, Robert's seen enough.
If I were him, I would do the same. I mean, at that point, you know.
I like to play it out, but
Reed Duke would not have conceded there.
No, probably not. He would have just let him attack.
Yeah. Reed Duke claims that he's never dropped from a tournament. Which
Has he really claimed that?
He has said he's never dropped from a tournament, which I believe.
Might be true. If he said it, it's probably true.
Right.
Yeah.
Which means that he's made day 2, lost his first 3 rounds, been out of contention to win any kind of prize, played his last 3 rounds. No, just nothing wrong with that at all.
No, not at all. He loves Magic.
Yeah, who doesn't?
I agree.
I mean, if you're watching this or playing in this or doing commentary on this, you probably do.
Yeah.
And if not, I mean, what can you do?
Yeah.
So, as you can see, the competitors do, or as we can see, rather, the competitors do have deck lists here. When you're in the top 8, every competitor is given their opponent's deck list, which I think is actually the best policy.
It is. I've played in tournaments a long time ago where that wasn't the case.
Well, even somewhat recently ago, not in the last 6 months, but I played tournaments within the last couple of years where that wasn't the case.
The problem is you don't want it to be an advantage that people have somebody at home to call that are scouring the internet, or they have a smartphone and someone else might not.
Yeah, especially given the fact that the coverage at this point is so intense. There's like deck techs, there's people featured on stream, there's all these things. You don't want to punish people for being in that position. And I think so. I think having deck lists give everyone equal information once you're in the top 8.
Absolutely.
And so both these players get to sideboard with full knowledge, which still leads to interesting sideboard games. I mean, this is a reasonably straightforward matchup. It's not like the Esper Mirror where you have to decide whether to bring in Nightveil Spectre or not. But there is some interplay here.
Yeah, when you know your opponent's list, it does create more sort of mind games or leveling games. When you don't know if they even have creatures, you're not going to try to level them to think you're not bringing in your creatures and things like that. But when they know exactly what you have, you might try to bring in one set of cards in game 2 and a different set of cards in game 3 and keep catching them off guard with what they think you're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Mono-Blue's not a deck that can side all its creatures, but I played Esper matches where you board in 4 Nightveil Spectres, then maybe you board them out, assuming they want to have in Last Breath, that sort of thing.
Like they board back in their Supreme Verdicts, you take out your creatures, and you just try to blank as many of their cards as you can. And
if they know you have exactly 4 like Nightveil Spectres or something like that, you ever taken out exactly 4 cards, put them on the table?
Yep.
Yeah. It's a ploy. It sometimes works.
Right.
So the players are shuffling up for game 2 here. Nathan is up a game. And Robert, being on the play again, he mulliganed to 6. His 6 wasn't very exciting. He is looking for Pack Rat, though, and a trophy appears out of nowhere. Looks like we've got our trophy back, which is good because, Hugh doesn't like to let it out of sight for too long. It's one of the few trophies you don't get to win. Well, technically it's right there and you can have it, but...
Well, it's my trophy.
That's also true. So we've got Hugh's trophy here. It's actually the Grand Prix Oakland trophy that we're using for the moment.
Yep.
It is very nice.
A proxy.
Yeah. Proxy trophies are nice. Actually, the trophy I won in Grand Prix LA was broken. It got broken. So the trophy in the trophy shot, I'm actually holding it together, much like Owen did for his Player of the Year trophy. Right. And then later I got another trophy.
Sure.
So
the winner of this match will actually be the 3rd person to win this trophy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That makes it mean even more.
Yeah.
And Nathan Holliday's got to be feeling pretty good here. I mean, being up a game, obviously, we've all been up a game and lost matches. That's just how it happens.
Of course.
You do feel pretty good, because no matter what's happening in game 2, you're always like, well, there's always game 3.
Yeah, I agree. It puts your mind at ease.
Yep.
When you're, when you get to the finals of a major tournament, and you're about to lose the tournament. It's so deflating.
Yeah.
You know, like when the game has slipped out of reach, it's the last few turns, and you have to go through the motions just in case, but you know the writing's on the wall. You don't have to have that feeling when you're up a game.
Yeah. I mean, I've said this many times, but my most crushing loss in Magic was at Pro Tour San Diego when I was 17-0 going into the round,
Yeah.
you know, in the semifinals. And down 2-1 against Simon, I mulliganed to 5, and my 5 wasn't good. And I had to wait till the other match concluded, looking at these 5 cards for
Yeah.
like 20 minutes,
Yeah, that's
knowing
brutal.
I was going to lose,
That's brutal.
knowing that I wasn't going to be able to 19-0 the Pro Tour,
Yeah.
which is not an opportunity you get very often.
Of course not. Yeah, that's brutal. That's
Yeah.
like the Patriots losing the Super Bowl after
Yeah,
being
being
18-0.
Yeah, 16-0, then 18-0.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
So it looks like we're starting, so we can head back down here as Robert Berni versus Nathan Holliday play what could potentially be the last game of the Grand Prix. So
turn 2 Thoughtseize from Robert.
And it looks like Nathan's got a pretty varied hand. He's got Tidebinder Mage, Frostburn Weird Master, and Bident, plus the lands to cast all of them. So you can't ask for much more except for maybe Cloudfin Raptor.
Or Thassa.
Yeah, Thassa would help. So Robert is taking the Bident because that's the card that is the the most difficult for him to deal with. He can't actually kill it. Once it's in play, he has to kill every one of Nathan's creatures, or Nathan kind of goes off.
Right. So Nathan's going to opt to play Tidebinder Mage to have the extra power on the board over Frostburn Weird.
So Robert still with no early Night Veil Spectre. This would be a perfect game for Night Veil Spectre.
And Nathan just drew one.
Well, it is still a perfect game for Night Veil Spectre, but as it turns out, on the side, Robert doesn't want to see it. Nathan doesn't have a Judge's Familiar though, so if Robert has a Hero's Downfall, he can immediately kill the Night Veil Spectre, which he will undoubtedly take the opportunity to do so.
Unless he knows that's his only removal spell, and he knows about the Master Waves from the Thoughtseize.
Right. So that Hero's Downfall does indicate that he's got a plan for Master at the very least. So Desecration Demon is a good threat. Master is very good against Desecration Demon. It gives you a pretty big supply of elementals to feed to the demon.
And also Rapid Hybridization, which Nathan just drew, is another pretty good answer to it.
Yeah. So if you're Nathan here, would you rather just play Master, or play a Frostburn and set up maybe a Master for more next turn?
Probably play Frostburn Weird and then spend my Rapid Hybridization on the demon.
Yeah, just not concern yourself. You certainly don't want to take 6 here. That seems a little premature.
Right.
I also like not playing Master here because if you play Master and then Robert kills it before attacks, he gets to hit you for 6. You don't get to sacrifice an elemental to it. So Nathan deciding whether or not he wants to take 6 here. He's certainly not sacrificing a creature this turn. So demons become frogs in a stunning twist of fate.
So Nathan has that Master, but if Robert can answer it, he doesn't have much left in the tank.
No, and Nathan knows that Robert knows that he has it.
Right.
And used a Hero's Downfall on Spectre.
Right.
So that indicates Robert's got an answer, and we actually know that he has Bioblight in hand.
Right. Nathan can attack with Frostburn Weird to trade it for the Frog, just so he can attack with Mutavault and Tidebinder Mage in subsequent turns.
And Nathan's on 2 islands and a Master. Nathan's actually, not got an insane hand here. I think I like playing Master anyway, though, because if you get your Master Thoughtseize, that's really terrible for you.
I would certainly play it.
Especially since Thoughtseize now is basically never going to be good against Nathan. He's just going to play off the top every single turn. So blanking all of Robert's Thoughtseize is good, even though you've got to, somewhat expect this Master to die immediately. Oh, actually, it looks like he has Furika's Cure, which is even better than Bioblight. Packrat gives Robert a way to close this game out.
Oh yeah, I was going to say just now, Robert has control, but not a lot of pressure. But Packrat is a perfect card here. He's able to play it and make a token right away.
Nathan can have a pair of 2/2 Packrats if he domesticates it and has a Mutavault, but domestication is not going to stop Packrat forever. I mean, Robert still has the lands to make a Packrat. It still seems like it would be better to domesticate the Packrat over the Frog Lizard, even though it's still just stemming the bleeding, it's not stopping it.
At least it slows it down quite a bit.
And Rapid Hybridization's drawback is really showing up here. I mean, often Mono-Blue can just ignore it, Tidebinder Mage it, fly over it. That Frog Lizard has stopped Robert from taking something like 8 to 10 damage.
Yeah, but it's a lot fewer damage than a Desecration Demon would have stopped him from taking.
Well, that's certainly true. Nathan's in a tough spot here. I mean, he's got to be facing down the the fear that Pack Rat's just going to go off, and he's got no really good way to stop it. I mean, he needs to draw like a Thassa or even something like a Night Veil Spectre to give him enough the opportunity to attack here. So it looks like he is targeting the Frog Lizard. The advantage of this is he gets to attack this turn.
Right. And he needs to apply pressure. He might be thinking that if he's, like you said, if he's able to just get through some damage here and draw a Thassa, make a couple of creatures unblockable for a few turns, he might be able to steal the game against the Pack Rat.
And given that this does do the most damage, this does 4 damage here if he attacks with Tidebinder, Mage, and Mutavault. At this point, the attack with Frostburn Word is not profitable at all because he's tapped out. Robert's just going to make a rat and block. Pack Rat coming out. And Robert is only on 1 card in hand, so he's not going to be able to make 2 rats a turn here, since he's going to the second card can't be the 6th land as well. Given that it's 1 rat a turn, that gives Nathan, a little more of a chance. If it was 2 rats the first turn, that would be...
If he ever draws a Mutavault, he gets like 1.5 rats.
Yeah. This is the turn where Nathan really needs to draw something. Nathan does have Cyclonic Rift in his deck.
Right.
That is one of the few cards the Mono-Blue deck can do to actually get out of rat territory here.
But he only has 6 lands, so...
Yeah, he has a few turns. I mean, Robert's not going to be in a position to attack with the rats quite yet. So 3/3 rats, still trade with Frostburn or the Frog Lizard. So Nathan again, looking at his only way of winning the game being to find Thassa and just deal enough damage, besides Cyclonic Rift, which kind of gets him out of it no matter which way he plays. Assuming he hits the 7th land.
Right, of course. So if Robert doesn't block here, Nathan is threatening 7 damage. That's half of Robert's life.
And Frostburn Weird's going to trade for a rat this turn or next turn. You might want to just get it over with.
Might.
I mean, give it, you don't really want to take 8 off Frostburn Weird. You don't necessarily have to trade for the Frog Lizard here, but blocking with just 1 rat, I like that actually. I don't think you can afford to take 7 here. So Nathan's now going to make the Frostburn Weird a 2/3. To which Robert is going to want to make his rat 3/3, then Nathan's going to make his Frostburn Weird a 3/2. Robert could also be baiting out, the Frostburn Weird and casting something like a Bile Blight on it if that's the last card in his hand. Since he's not going to need that to discard the rat anyway, he has his draw step for that. So it looks like he might induce Frostburn to be a 3/2, and he's actually just fine with that. Nathan drew a land, but at least it was a Mutavault. Those rats are getting very close to being out of control, though.
At what point can Robert start attacking, though?
It's not quite yet, and that gives Nathan time to draw Cyclonic Rift. Maybe a Domestication does something, a Night Veil Spectre could get him into a decent territory.
Domestication's not the worst. He does have 2 Mutavaults.
Yeah, and so he would be basically stealing a 3/3 Pack Rat. Robert has to be, thinking about Thassa, and I think trading for the Frog Lizard might actually cut Nathan's outs down even more. Because it gets rid of the Domestication, so Thassa's not active. You stay at 11. And trading rats for Nathan's cards while not taking damage puts Robert into a game state that he's not going to lose from.
I agree. I mean, there's only so many cards Nathan can draw that Robert's even forced to trade rats for.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the last turn where Robert trades a rat. He might not attack for a while because of the 3 2/2s on Nathan's side of the board, but still something worth considering. That is not the turn where you want to draw Judge's Familiar.
At least it's a flyer if he follows it up with a Biden or something.
True, but the rats still looks like, at this point, Robert's fine trading rats for Mutavaults, it looks like. But Nathan can set up a double block and then a double block and potentially kill 2 rats, though he trades his whole board. That puts Nathan in a pretty bad spot still.
Robert decides not to attack.
So I think, given that Nathan doesn't have anything, not attacking is probably fine, because Robert's going to have an unassailable board position, except for the fact that Nathan has Cyclonic Rift somewhere. This puts you in a worse spot against Cyclonic Rift.
Of course it does. If Robert's able to trade off some creatures, get rid of 2 Mutavaults, and only be facing down like a Tidebinder Mage, for example, and get Cyclonic Rifted, he can just start over.
That's true. If Robert's not under a lot of pressure, I cannot imagine that Robert, won't at least think about attacking this turn. Now that he's got rats at 5/5s, he loses a rat. That's about it.
And the rat has to be triple blocked in order to be lost.
Though Nathan does want to kill the actual Pack Rat in case of a Cyclonic Rift.
That's true, actually.
Which is another thing to consider, though I still like attacking with all 4. So if you're Nathan, you're thinking, well, Thassa's not going to do much here because I'm already at 4 devotion, even with Thassa, and so losing Tidebinder Mage doesn't matter because of that. Bident is a relevant draw.
So he has lands in his hand. So even if he loses both Mutavaults, he can still overload Rift. So I think you're right. I think the play is just make 2 Mutavaults and put everything on the actual Pack Rat.
Yeah, and that gives you the best shot to win if you draw Cyclonic Rift, which I think Nathan's down to. So it looks like Nathan is chumping. Would appear so. Now, if you're Robert, do you make another rat or do you just do 12 here?
Depends what my cards are, I think. If I have a swamp or something in my hand, I probably just go ahead and make another rat.
But if you have 2 good cards, you might not make a rat now or end of turn.
Right.
Because you still have lethal. You
might don't need it.
Might as well not pitch cards to Cyclonic Rift if you don't need to. So Nathan potentially still thinking about blocks. Does not look happy, but from, the top of his head.
Well, he's staring down 16 power worth of rats.
Yeah, and 3 of them look especially intimidating.
Which 3?
Well, there's 3 on one side and 1 on the other. So Nathan does chump. Robert does choose not to pump the rats, and at least Master of Waves gives Nathan a good shot. I would have traded off Tidebinder Mage, drawn Master, and been pretty sad.
So Master would provide 4 tokens here.
Which at the very least keeps you alive next turn.
He can play Master.
He still can't really attack with anything but Judge's Familiar.
No, he can attack with everything. He can attack for 6.
But Robert can just make a rat and then
that's true.
block the Mutavault or the Tidebinder Mage.
That's no good.
So I think Nathan's still on just the go plan, though depending on how Robert attacks, I mean, Robert's going to make another rat here. There's no downside at this point.
Right, so he could have theoretically 5 6/6s.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough sell killing those with tokens. You're going to need those tokens to chump block.
Looks like Nathan planning blocks already.
Might as well give your opponent a preview of the blocks. So those 3 elementals on 1 rat. The elemental plus a Mutavault kills a second rat. And then you chump, chump, chump. You can actually let one of the rats through. So maybe you just chump with Tidebinder Mage and
Can you
Judge's Familiar.
Can you snowball the rats or whatever?
You can kill 1, 2. You can kill 3 actually, but I don't think you can kill the 4th or 5th.
All right.
When the 6th is not attacking, it was just summoned. So it's worth considering at the very least. So it looks like Nathan is not planning on black with that Judge's Familiar. Oof. Bioblade on the Master of Waves should just end this game. Robert can make a 5th rat, he can just attack with everything, and Nathan doesn't have enough chump blockers. I mean, Robert's going to go for it, Nathan's going to make him. All very reasonable plays here. Robert even used Bioblade first so that Judge's Familiar didn't impact his rat-making capabilities. Nathan could have actually sacked the Judge's Familiar to make 1 less rat. In this case, it doesn't matter. There's no reason to show your opponent that you see that trick.
Right.
So we've got a game 3 on our hands. So Nathan Holiday going to be on the play this time.
1 game for all the marbles. The play is definitely where you want to be.
We're giving away marbles too? I thought we were just giving away a trophy and money and pro points.
Like, how do you even...
Look, we're playing a game with dragons and wizards.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
And jokes are fun too. They all go together
I
perfectly
agree.
well.
I'm just teasing you.
But teasing's not fun.
It is.
So we've got game 3 coming up here. Nathan Holiday against Robert Berni. We've got 2 devotion decks in the finals. This looks like a Grand Prix from a couple months ago. It's gone full circle. I mean, we've seen Esper decks, we've seen Jund monsters become a deck kind of out of nowhere. It wasn't a deck before. And now we're back to 2 of the decks that did well at Pro Tour Dublin even at the start of this format.
Yeah. Mono-Blue was probably the deck of the tournament.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it had 2 in the finals, 3 in the top 4. It's kind of hard to argue against that.
And Mono-Black sort of picked up steam right after that and won a slew of Grand Prix.
Yeah, it won at least 3 Grand Prix, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to keep track. There's so many.
Yeah.
And Nathan Holiday with a grip full of Paulo Vitor tokens. Speaking of Paulo Vitor, he had his coverage debut rounds 1 and 2 of day 2. And, he's interested in hearing feedback. I'm interested in hearing feedback. If you liked his coverage, let us know and he'll do more of it. So that was pretty fun, being in the booth with PV.
Yeah, he's a fun guy.
Yeah. So as the competitors kind of take a look at the deck list for any final tweaks to sideboarding. Again, they're pretty sure they know what they're doing at this point. So, looks like the chat's enjoying Huey's responses to my jokes here, or not enjoying, depending on who you look at.
Yeah.
But I can't say there's a right or a wrong response, except that you should just laugh.
What if they're not funny?
Well, when that comes up, then you can choose not to laugh.
If it ever comes up?
Yeah, if it ever comes up.
Okay.
I mean, it's unlikely, but stranger things have happened. So, finishing touches. We saw a lot of interesting decks on camera. What was your favorite deck to cover here? We saw, a reasonably wide variety. We saw a lot of mono blue, mono black, Esper.
Truly, I really enjoyed covering Nathan this weekend.
Yeah, Nathan was really impressed me with his play. I mean, not only is he in the finals playing for the trophy, just watching his matches, even on like day one, early on day two, he was just playing very well. He was considering all the different lines of play, and he was, the precision of his play was impressive.
I agree, and because the blue deck is an aggressive deck, that's a synergistic aggressive deck, it creates interesting lines in games, and I find it an enjoyable deck to both play and cover.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways. I mean, it is to some degree an aggro control deck. Like, it has those elements to it. It's heavier on the aggro side. It doesn't have very many control elements. But because it has cards like Thassa and Master of Waves, Psychonograph that really swing the tempo of the game, it's interesting watching players shift gears there. And watching all those complicated interactions in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing is really fun.
Yeah, so I guess that would be my answer. What about you?
Well, I didn't get to cover the match. Farron Lee's Big Naya deck with lots of Archangels of Thunes is kind of a favorite of mine.
That's cool.
I'm sad I didn't get to cover it last week at the Magic Online Championships, and it was fun, kind of watching his match. And like I told Matt, both guys sat there and watched you guys cover their match right after they were done.
Really?
Yeah, because you were doing it on the recorded
delay,
match.
Yeah.
So they loaded up coverage as soon as they were done, and they both sat at the table and watched it, commenting on it and watching it on one of their phones.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it also shows that they were happy enough even after the match, and I think that shows good sportsmanship and an appreciation for the game. So we've got opening hands here. Nathan Holliday looking at a whole lot of blue cards and a whole little bit of islands. And that's why you don't look. He looked at his top 4 cards, saw 3 islands and a domestication, which would have made his hands very good.
Oh yeah, but I don't think you can fault him for taking a mulligan there.
Oh, definitely not.
You don't want to get to the finals of the Grand Prix and then just not cast any spells in the 3rd game.
Yeah, and regardless of whether it's the finals of the Grand Prix or not,
I agree, but I mean
that was just an embellishment.
Yeah.
You still don't want to keep that hand. It's just not a keepable hand. If you don't draw an island, you just don't do anything. So even monocolored decks can have mana problems. Robert Berni keeping his hand. So, and as we've discussed before, mono blue decks take mulligans a little harder than the other devotion decks. So Nathan going to 6 here, though. It's not hard to figure out a good hand on. Unopposed Night Veil Spectre or Bident can put Nathan right back into the game very easily.
Hopefully Nathan can keep 6.
Yeah, I would like to see a good game 3 here.
Me too.
And, I mean, there are a lot of hands that Nathan can have that again provide us a pretty awesome game 3. He doesn't want to see something like Rapid Hybridization as opening hand. That's not the kind of card. That's the kind of card you want to see exactly one of when you're have a good board.
You want to top deck it when you need it.
Right, exactly. It's not the kind of card you want to see two of in your opening hand. I mean, all right. This is potentially Nathan's last opening hand of the tournament. He certainly hopes so, because if he sees another one, it's only going to contain 5 cards.
There's the Rapid Hybridization.
Well, it's a playable hand otherwise. It's 2 islands, 2 Tidebinder Mages, and a Master of Waves. You can't mulligan that. It's not an exciting hand, though.
He gets duressed.
Well, Rapid Hybridization betrays you again. And duress is a card that, we saw both Ifro and Robert bring it in against Mono Blue, so they are very scared of Biden. I think I would leave my duresses in the sideboard.
Ifro brought it in against Blue-White with Detention Sphere.
Yeah, Detention Spheres add actually a lot more spells.
Yeah.
So Robert, no turn 2 play, but he might just go ahead and kill the Tidebinder Mage here.
It makes things easier for Nathan. I think if Robert were to just take 2 there, Nathan wouldn't be sure whether or not to cast the second Tidebinder Mage because he would have had to try to play around Bile Blight.
Which is, some value that Bile Blight brings that didn't bring before. Nathan really looking for, an answer to that Night Veil Spectre. He's got, unfortunately, nothing much besides 2 Master Waves and Psychonograph. He would have been happy with a 4th land too, I think.
Yeah. He could have just slammed the Master out there and tried to win with it.
Yeah, especially when you're behind. I mean, you just run out Master Waves. You don't even worry about it. And when you have 2, it makes it a little easier as well.
Yeah.
Nathan could just Cyclonic Rift the Spectre and attack for 2. It's a poor time walk, but it is a time walk. What do you think about that? Would you be leaning towards that or against it?
I would not do that. I would probably wait until Night Veil Spectre attacked, triggered. If he hit a land, maybe I'd bounce it so he couldn't play the land.
Yeah, because you can see what triggers off Night Veil Spectre and end of combat bounce it.
Right.
So that they don't get to main phase play the card. Looks like Nathan's just going to opt for the 2 damage here. And it looks like Robert's just going to replay the Spectre and play a Scryland. So he's developing his board still. He's got to decide whether he wants to keep Devour Flesh. His hand is gas. He's got Hero's Downfall, Farika's Cure, Grey Merchant.
Yeah, he has ways to deal with both of the Master Waves in Nathan's hand.
Yeah. And this is really Robert's game to lose here. I mean, the game's certainly far from over,
right,
but Robert has the tools at his disposal to win this game. Like if he just played like a Grey Merchant and let Nathan resolve a second Master, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't either.
So Robert likely wanted to hit first with Night Veil Spectre before doing that, but I don't think there's any card he could flip that would change his play, and there we go, another Night Veil Spectre. That's the worst card Nathan could possibly see on top of his deck.
Yeah, by far. It's like the only bad card, right?
I think so. I mean, Mutavault would be unfortunate, but Robert couldn't play it that turn anyway,
right,
and no other card is really castable, so Night Veil Spectre is, this is going to be turning into a rapid mauling here.
Robert's going to get to trigger 2 Spectres here.
We might see the quad laser Spectres, because Robert drew one too, but no, it looks like he's deciding against it, considering there's a Master of Waves there and he wants to kill it. Nathan does have the option of playing a Night Veil Spectre if he draws a land, though. If he had a Cyclonic Rift, rather, if he had kept the Rift. He could have bounced his own Spectre. Instead, a pair of Judge's Familiars are going to make, poor defense against triple Night Veil Spectre here.
And Robert drew Bile Blight, which doesn't actually kill both familiars, because the one that's targeted can be sacked to fizzle the effect, the spell.
Which I imagine Nathan is going to do. You're targeting this one, sack it. But 3 Night Veil Spectres, I mean, I haven't seen very many games that don't end quickly when one player's drawing 4 cards a turn, the other's drawing 1 card a turn.
And it will be 4 cards a turn. Like, we said he couldn't cast all off Nathan's deck, but once he hits an island, he sure can. Yeah,
and he's going to hit those islands soon. Plus, we could see a Grey Merchant for something like, actually 14. If he plays another Night Veil Spectre this turn,
yeah,
and then next turn
Grey
plays...
Merchant in his hand right
yeah,
now.
he has
so
Grey Merchant, Night Veil. So if he plays a Night Veil, and then next turn plays a Grey Merchant, he could do the full amount.
Right, if Nathan doesn't block here, the game's just over if Robert hits a land, right?
Yeah, he can just play Grey Merchant for 11.
Yeah. Wow.
There has to be some temptation to try to run it up to 14, though, right? To get the largest one in history, or no?
No.
It's not a...
But he doesn't hit a land.
No, it's a Night Veil Spectre. I do kind of want to see Robert with 5 Night Veil Spectres in play. I don't think it's going to happen, though. I don't know how much more punishment Nathan can endure here. I mean, this is what you're talking about, where you know you're going to lose, but you can't scoop, right? Like, Nathan has to play this out, but, I mean, Robert could even cast Judge's Familiar off Temple of Silence. There we go.
So Robert is the champion.